Alright, folks, good evening. This is Thalen McRom. I'm still in that same playthrough that I've been recording for everybody and demonstrating, but I thought I'd take a little moment to talk about cooking in Vintage Story, because we're kind of at the point now where my character's starting to used to having, like, real meals. So I thought I'd go through that for people who haven't seen it before. This isn't going to be a very long one, just long enough to kind of go over how cooking works. So, first things first, you're going to need a cooking pot. That's in one of my previous episodes of how you make these. And then what you're going to do is you're going to right click, pick up your cooking pot. You're going to put it on your cook fire by holding shift and right click. And it gives you this interface. This is where you're going to put your ingredients for cooking. And you're going to put your fuel down here, and this will tell you what you're going to get. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go grab, say, like 8 pieces of firewood here. Just throw them on the campfire so it's ready to go once we get our ingredients ready. Now, you can do this with all kinds of different ingredients, but what we're going to do is we're going to make a vegetable based stew tonight. I'm going to be using primary field mushrooms, and I'm going to be adding some chicken of the wood mushrooms to that to give it a little extra ump there. And that's going to be kind of all I can add to this as far as making 4 servings. And then we're going to get into the math on how that works right now. So, first things first, we're going to right click on the pot. We're going to open up our inventory, not that you really need to in this case. And you notice I have 8 and 4. So we're going to split that 8 stack in half, put 4 in this first slot, 4 of these oyster or field mushrooms in the second slot. So you notice that now says, we'll create 4 servings of field mushroom stew. That's how you know this will make a stew. Now we can add a few things to this. We could add some meat to it, if we wanted to. We could add some other vegetables to it. That'll make us a heartier stew. In this case, we're going to use these chicken of the wood mushrooms that I've got laying around. And now notice it'll say, this will create 4 servings of hearty field mushroom stew, because I've now added some extra vegetables to it. Now, that's where just because this is my playthrough, and I'm still working on getting my food chains fully up and running, that's the ingredients we have for now. So we're going to go ahead and light this up. And we'll just hold shift and right click on it with our torch here until it lights. There we go. Now it's lit. And you can hear the fire crackling. And eventually, as it starts heating up, you'll start hearing that pot bubbling there. If you can just barely hear it. And you can see it's slowly filling up this bar here, showing us that it's cooking. We're going to let that cook for a little bit. But you can also do this with like a meat base. So if you had some red meat or some poultry, you could do that in your first 2 slots there to make it a meat-based stew instead, adding your vegetables. And the cool thing about the meat-based stews, particularly the red meat, I haven't tested this with poultry, I'll have to check, but I think you can, is you can also add some berries to it to get a little bit of fruit in there. Because what you'll see is once you get this made, it'll tell you how much this will give you of the different things you've added to it. Like if this had meat in it, it's you give you this much protein value, and with the vegetables, give you this much vegetable value. And if you also add the berries, because if you had a meat-based stew, it'll tell you give you this much fruit value as well. And that plays into this little nutrition track over here on your character sheet, which affects like your hit points and stuff. And notice, it finished cooking. We actually didn't need all 8 pieces of firewood, so I'm going to pull my 5 leftover firewood out. So we've got it. And notice, this gave us 4 servings of hearty field mushroom stew, which will give us 360 vegetable satiation there per serving. And that's this bar right here, which is good because we were kind of low on that anyways. And what we're going to do is we're going to put that down there, and that way I can just grab one of these bowls and eat some, and you can see my character's kind of hungry anyways. And what I think we'll do as well, I know it's nighttime out, so we're going to just stick our head out real quick and go up here, because I finished firing a few things in my pit kilns earlier. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab one of these crocks here. These crocks will let us store that stew we just made for a longer period of time, make it last longer. There you go. And what we can do is we can just shift right click. Oh, hold on, let me put the crock down, pick that up. And then we just shift right click on the crock, put our thing down, and notice there you can see it. It's got our 4 servings in there, which is actually perfect because these crocks will only hold 4 servings. So if you did the full 6 servings, which is the maximum the cooking pot will hold, you'd have 2 left over in your cooking pot. But that'll make it last longer and freeze up our cooking pot in case we want it to cook more. And you can do the same thing with making soup as well by using water in the first slot. And we can actually go into our handy survival handbook here. That's you just get there by pressing H. You can also look at things and it'll tell you about them. But we can just type in here and go stew, I think. Yeah, meal making. Here you go. And this will tell you how to do it. So, you know, with pottery and your kiln, you make your cooking pot. And then for meat stew, first 2 slots have to be raw red meat or poultry. There you go. Then you can add, some optional ingredients of extra meat just to make it a super hearty meat stew. Some vegetables to make it have some vegetables. You can also add eggs. So yeah, I didn't even know you could add eggs. You can add soybeans, and that's all protein. You can also add 1 slot of fruit or honey to make it sweet. And the fruit will add fruit satiation. And I haven't seen what the honey does. I'll have to try that next time I actually get some honey, which will be a little while because I don't have bees yet. Vegetable stew, same concept. First 2 slots have to be a matching vegetable. So carrots and carrots, onions and onions, or as you just saw, mushrooms and mushrooms, something like that. And then you can add either more vegetables or soybeans if you want to add some protein to it. And it even says here, no, mushrooms are considered vegetables. Porridge, same concept, except first 2 are grain. It has to be a matching grain. I made porridge in one of my previous episodes. We can go over that again some other time if you all want. And you can add more grain, or you can add vegetables and fruit to mix it up. I like to add fruit to those. Soup, for your first 2 slots, 1 has to be water and 1 has to be vegetable. There you go. So the soup requires vegetable, and you want your first 2 slots. It's a great way of, if you don't have enough vegetables to, say, make a full stew, the soup will let you get there without as many vegetables needed. And then you can add in, red meat, poultry, or eggs, or more vegetables in your other slots. Then you can also make scrambled eggs. I've never actually made scrambled eggs in the game, but it is something you can do. And you can also make jam, and in one of my previous playthroughs, which I don't have on the channel, that was before I started streaming and recording, you can make jam, where you take fruit and honey and make it, to make your fruit last longer. It's really cool. But this handbook will basically go over everything in the game that you might have questions on. It's a great little tool. And that's kind of my quick and dirty, this is how you cook in vanilla vintage story, because this is vanilla. There's a lot of mods that change all this and add a lot of extra recipes, which are really cool. And at some point, I'll start playing some of those. But there's some great YouTubers out there who have a lot of great streams on some of those mods. I know very popular ones like Cooking Artillery and Expanded Foods. I have not personally tried those, but I've seen some great YouTube videos on them, and I'm going to try those in a playthrough at some point. But I hope you enjoyed this little how-to on some basic cookery. When we get further on in this playthrough, we'll do things like pies. But again, thank you all for stopping by and listening to me yammer on about this subject. And I hope you will like and subscribe if you like this content and want to see more of it. I will have some other playthroughs of other games as well. Like I've got a RimWorld playthrough I'm working on with the new Odyssey DLC, which I'll be doing some content on. So, hope to talk to you all again. This has been Thalon McRom. I'm signing out for tonight. Y'all have a good evening or good day, whatever time it is for y'all. So, have a good one.